Sometimes projects just get put off, sometimes for years. This black dresser got put away when it was partially stripped, and like there's some of the stuff right there that we got stripped, and we got the top stripped. But today I was free, so I got out the citrus strip. I'm putting a coat on, or have put a coat on, and we'll just strip that off. Then we got the front to do a little bit of stripping, and then we can actually start to refinish this thing after all these years. Well, this is the way that black dresser looked way back in 2012. We thought we were going to use it in the bathroom. However, as you've seen in our farmhouse videos, we didn't. We went in a different direction. So that got partially stripped and then put away, and I decided I'm going to find a place for it. These are the still pictures from back in 2012 when we started working on it. Now the reason why I'm going to all the trouble to strip all this black paint off this dresser is when we started to strip it years ago, we were told it was made out of hickory. So that is kind of a rare wood for a dresser. So we thought that it would be worthwhile to do it, especially when you look at the grain. We think it's going to look pretty good with some kind of a like Old Masters Natural, which I'm very fond of. So I don't know just how this is going to strip. Oh yeah. I know the YouTube videos don't seem to like citrus strip, but you know, I think it's doing a pretty darn good job. And it doesn't smell. Well, that side was done fairly quickly. And one of the reasons I put this off is I didn't have the right tools. Now I've got a hide curved scraper set to get some of this detail. And with the right tools, it doesn't take very long. I'm not a furniture stripper like you see on the internet. I just have some stuff that I wanted to refinish. So this is going to be a whole lot rougher and more amateurish. Now, like I said before, I'm not a furniture restorer. So I'm not using the expensive sandpaper and the expensive sander. I'm using just a pack of 100 grit Norton sandpaper. You cut it down to quarter sheet and you put it on. Then you take this and put it over it like that to create the holes. And with the holes, you take this adapter that I made, put that on. I think there's a short on how to do that. And connect that to a bucket head. And with the 100 grit sandpaper, I'm going to sand. And if you ever see me do any sanding by hand, I'm not going to take those expensive discs, fold it over, and sand it. I'm just dumb enough to use regular sandpaper and a sanding block. So, power that, power that, and see what our seat setup will do. Now this is just 100 grit. I may have to go something a little bit more. Now for those of you that have only seen an orbital sander and never seen a quarter sheet, you take a whole sheet, tear it in half, then cut it in half again. like that. Then what you do is you put in one side like that and lock it down. Fold it over, stick it in, so yeah, it takes a little longer than that expensive stuff. Lock it down, so there's your disc. Now you take your tool, you can see how it's supposed to be aligned, put it on, if I can get it right here. And there you go. There's your holes. There's one bad disc. There's a brand new disc. So I can start right in again. Reattach my hose. Power on. Power on. Start in again with a Well, I think that just about takes care of that side. It doesn't look too bad for just a lowly quarter sheet sander. And I was able to get into the corners that one of those rotaries can't do. Okay, now that I've got the thing entirely stripped and sanded, I'm going to take some 220 finish, tore it in half, tore it in a quarter. There it is. Put this on. Almost. Didn't quite get all the holes. My fault. There you go. There's all the holes. So now, I'm going to give it a 220 finish sand. Vacuum on. Give it a finish sand. I will tell you that hard wood really chews up sandpaper. Now there's a few marks, but I don't think I'm going to bother doing the stuff that the other guys do on the YouTube. They make it perfect. This is an old piece. There's some there, there's some here. It's a whole lot nicer than it was. So I think that that's what I'm just going to, now that I got the 220 on there, I think I'm just going to try some Old Masters stain after I get the rest of the body sanded, and we'll see what happens. So with the carcass sanded to 220, I'm going to take some mineral spirits and clean this top, and then I will put the natural Old Masters natural stain on and see what we've got. Again, like I said earlier, there's going to be some scrapes and nicks and stuff. I'm not creating a museum piece here. I just wanted to show off this wood and get that worthless black off. So there we go. I'll let that dry, and then we'll see what the natural stain looks like. Okay, So we've got it all clean, it's smooth, ready to go. I got the Old Masters wiping stain in natural. Got my foam brush. And just like I did with the kitchen table, I'm going to apply it. I'm hoping I'm going to get a nice warm glow of the natural graining, I guess you would call it. I'm a fan of the lighter color. I don't care for the dark stain. And I kind of like what I'm seeing. And I'm just finishing up. I like the color that I'm getting. Now they said you can do a second coat if you want it darker. I don't know that I want it darker. I want to see what I've got. And I think what I've got is pretty darn good. And as I'm finished up in here, we'll got to come back in about 15 minutes and wipe it off exactly like I did the kitchen table. If you watch my farmhouse series and how I did the maple butcher block kitchen table. So it has been 15 minutes, and according to the can, I should now brush it across the grain and then with the grain, just like I did with the table in the kitchen. Okay, now with the grain. I don't know about you, but I think that looks really good. So much better than that black paint. Somebody decided way back when that black paint was the thing, but I don't. I just love that wood. You don't find wood like that anymore. So that's how the whole thing's going to look, and I'll bring you along as I progress putting the pieces together. And I got to redo the door latches because I don't like the way they've got it. And I've got some handles to replace the floppy dresser drawer handles on the drawer. So I think it's going to look a whole lot better than it did. No matter how bad a job I do, I believe it's going to be better than the way I found it. I'm not sure just how old this Vanity is, but looking at the door and its lock assembly, or latch assembly, got a nail and that little teardrop thing, and if you look at this, you can see how the blade went through it. It's just as cut for that drawer. They just finished one side, and the other side is just as cut. I saw one other one that had a latch assembly, something like it, on YouTube, and but that's the only thing that I've seen quite like it. I got to assume it's quite old. Because I am putting new knobs on the doors, and I'm going to have each door open individually as opposed to the way they had it, I'm going to get my pass load nail puller here, pull that nail, and then I'm going to cut that off. So I'm going to get out my shark saw, and There we go. So now, with that out of there, little piece here, they had it split so it would hold. My new knobs, I may have to put a dowel in there and plug that. I'm thinking, because that's going to be way too big. I was talking about the dowel. I realized I don't need a dowel. I have a dowel. Oh, I forgot to mention that I got the dowel from the original knob. I just cut it off, and we already knew that it was the right size to go in the hole. So, piece of wax paper, and have that set, and then I'm just going to glue that in place like that, and then I can take my brand new knob and use the provided screws, or maybe something different, and it will be like that. And because that's so wide, it'll cover it up. So there we go. Put that in, and just let that set up, and I'll be able to put that knob on. Of course, from the other side, because that's the back side of the door. Now inside the cabinet, we have this hook that went on to this eye, and that's how the left door was held closed. And then the right door came around and closed against this door. Well, we're not going to have that. We're going to end up using these, what do they call them? Double roller cabinet catches. It's a bullet type thing that goes into two spring-loaded rollers. That's what we're going to use, one on each side. So let's get this apart. And interesting, there's two holes, so obviously this pulled out there, and they had to go there. So the next thing to do is to get that out of there. I'm going to use the same Old Masters natural stain and do the sides and the drawer front and the doors, because I really like the look of that Old Masters. I always have. I'm not a fan of the stuff that the rest of the people on YouTube are using for restoring. I prefer Old Masters. Why? I think that it's a more natural finish. So anyway, you can see what it's going to look like. And even if it doesn't come out well, it's a whole lot better than that black. That was just butt ugly. So now that the glue is dried on that plug, they gave us two screws. Well, this screw looks like it's going to be enough. And then this will screw on like that. So you have to find a drill bit that is just bigger, so that it doesn't thread into that at all. That's 1/4 inch. So then the only thing to do is to center that and drill it. Okay, so you should be able to put that screw up through there and drop the knob. So then you've got to put a screwdriver on that and then just tighten that up. There you go. That's how I was able to fix that knob. So once the knobs are on, the next problem that I've got is this is hickory. This is birch. How do I get birch to match that? I've got some Old Masters special walnut, and I'm going to have a go at that. I think it'll probably be close, especially if I put it on and take it right off. Boy, that looks dark. But we'll see. So now I'm just going to immediately take it right off. I don't know. That doesn't look too bad. Now if you remember back to that one shot that I had of the original drawer front when it was black, these were the pulls. I'm pretty sure they were original because we got square nuts. However, since we're not going to use it as a dresser, I bought two sets of these wooden pulls. One set went in the bedroom on the under bed sliding drawers that I built, and I'm thinking I'm going to mount them like that. The holes are wrong, but I can drill new holes. And I'm not sure whether I want to refinish these. I mean, this is the original finish. It doesn't look that bad. There's always a chance, because I'm not great at finishing, because I'm just an amateur, I might booger this up, and I'd be better off leaving it as it is. So what I've decided for the pulls, these holes do not align with those holes, and they're into where you would put your fingers. So what I did was I measured from that point out, crossed it in the middle. That turns out to be 5 inches. So then all I have to do is put that up there, figure out exactly where I want it, and mark. Actually, it'd probably be right there, just 5 inches apart from the center of that. Well, as it turned out, these measured 3 inches. So from the center of each one, you come over 1. That makes 5. And just keep it on the same plane, and I can drill it. Like that. There's my 5-inch on center. And there is the first draw pull. You can come around on the back side. Nothing fancy, but it's just a drawer pull. So it'll work. Just got to do the other one. What I've got here are the 4 sets of hinges. They're rusty. They're painted. We're going to have to put them on the wire wheel and then maybe buff them. cleans them up fair, not great. You can see the buffing does a pretty good job. Well, we got the hinges all cleaned up. However, they just don't want to move. So we're going to have to put some lubricant of some kind and get them so that they work. Well, it took some work in a vise to get that to work, and some Tri-Flow, which is what I prefer. So now the doors will work reasonably efficiently. So I got the first door latch installed. Here's how it works. Just like that. So at this point in time, I've got the knobs on. I got the drawer pulls. They don't look too bad. I may not refinish them. And this works so much better than it ever did. So to seal the inside of the cabinet here and the drawer, I'm going to use Zinsser Bullseye Clear Shellac. So that's roughly what it's going to look like. Not too concerned about the looks, just want the inside sealed. Well, this is what the inside looked like after I sealed it with the clear shellac. I think it looks pretty good. So now that the inside is done with the shellac, I'm going to put a coat of Old Masters polyurethane, the satin. I've got it done on that side. I'm going to put it on there and do the other side. The top is probably going to have several coats. The sides, I'm just doing one coat. That'll be good enough. Just want to get something on there to protect all the work I've done on the finish. So this oil-based Old Masters, I've used it on a lot of projects. I don't see anybody using it on the internet but me, or at least on YouTube. But that's okay, they don't know what they're missing. Well, I don't know whether you can tell the difference now that I've got that one coat on, but it gave it a little bit of a gloss, even though it's the satin, and it tended to deepen the color a little bit, which there's nothing the matter with that. To bring you up to date, I put a coat of the satin poly on, then I let it dry, did 2000 grit wet dry sandpaper to smooth it out, put another coat of the satin poly on, and I've got some more wet dry sandpaper. I'm going to rub that out, and when that is dry, I'm going to put one coat of the gloss poly on. So this 2000 grit, that just makes it glass smooth. Any little spots, and then you just have to dry it off and wait for it to fully dry, and you can put the top coat on. Here's my Old Masters gloss poly and my favorite 1-inch brush. I'm just going to apply the top coat. that should finish this off. Then just wait for it to dry. So tomorrow I will do the final rub out. And I should have a nice, smooth, reasonably shiny surface. Make sure there's no runs on the edges. There we go. Well, it's the next morning and the gloss poly has fully dried. You can see the sheen that it has. It's not bad. It's really not bad. There's a little nubbins. So I've got some 2000 grit wet dry sandpaper. I'm going to go over it to take those nubbins off. Well, that old piece of wet dry sandpaper was pretty well spent, so thought I'd take a nice brand new one. You just have to wet it. And then just lightly sand it. You're not trying to remove any finish. You're just trying to get those little nubbins off. Let's see what we got. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Take a cloth, wipe it down. There we go. Oh yeah. That's all you need. Just a little bit of 2000 wet dry.